The internet has really changed the game in how we interact with people and how much we know about perfect strangers who we're never going to see in real life. I can go on the internet and I can find people, and even though I'll never see them in person, I'll never speak to them, I may not even comment on their videos, still they're telling me their deep dark secrets. They're going over their entire relationship history, their entire sexual history.
I have talked about my active bedroom life. And like, for example, this week, 4 different guys. Next week, I've got 2 on the line.
My point is, to be honest, I have always struggled with social interactions as a kid, even before the internet was introduced to me. And when the internet was introduced, and when all of these lines of what is and what isn't appropriate, and the lines of what our relationships are with each other were blurred, then it got even more confusing for me. So a video that I saw quite a while ago that really confused me was this interaction that Marissa Matthews posted about her adventures on Bumble.
Welcome back to another episode of Marissa's Dating Diaries. Today I'm going to talk about this guy. I'm going to be talking about the dangers of online dating in relation to this guy, and how toxic men can be when you don't give them what they want.
Marissa is somebody who is interested in casual sex, and she finds her sex partners through the internet. And she met this one guy on Bumble, and she said that things were going well.
Okay, so this was his first message, and it was all nice and dandy. He even gave me his cell phone number, but we never talked there. He added my Snapchat, and that's where we had the disgusting conversation. So you'll need to pause to read because there's too many screenshots to read through every single one.
Okay, so the Bumble messages start off with this guy saying that he wants some bomb ass.
Wet ass P-word.
He wants to know if she's interested, and she sends him several messages saying, yeah, I'm interested. My P-word might be a little too bomb for you, and I have a very high sex drive. They were hitting it off at first, and then we see the disgusting conversation. Full disclosure, it is important for me to bring this up for context. I have exactly zero experience of using the internet to find people to hook up with. And if I got any of those messages in my inbox, I would never be happy with that. I would never go out of my way to find somebody to interact with me in that way. But I suppose if you are looking on the internet for somebody to hook up with, I guess that would be appropriate, right? You're not gonna be all clinical. No, I feel like this kind of graphic description, it seems more appropriate in trying to set the mood for hooking up with somebody that you've never met before.
So it started out normal like this, and then he went into something very descriptive, which is fine to an extent, but he still didn't ask for my consent before talking in this descriptive manner.
I think that setting matters. The setting for this conversation is that she's looking for a guy to hook up with, and he's talking to her like this. And she said that the conversation started out fine, but he didn't get her permission to talk in this descriptive manner. But I don't see much of a difference between the beginning of this conversation versus when it became too descriptive for Marissa's liking.
So it started out normal like this.
I need to remind you that this part of the conversation is what Marissa deemed as benign. So Harvey from Bumble saying, hey, you're looking for steady friends with benefits. He sends her a picture of himself. It looks like he's holding his meat over his pants. And this is a completely appropriate picture because, again, Marissa said that this conversation started out fine. Let's see where it takes a turn for the worse. So she asks him how he is in bed, which I would guess is an invitation for him to start describing the things that he likes to do. She describes what she's interested in, and he says that he wants to be a part of that. I don't see where he's crossing any lines in this respect.
And then he went into something very descriptive, which is fine to an extent, but he still didn't ask for my consent before talking in this descriptive manner.
After he describes what he wants to do with her, she says, "That'd be amazing, hee hee." And there's no indication that she is at all uncomfortable with this interaction. It looks like she's encouraging it, and she asked him to send a photo. One of the issues when it comes to textual communication, where you can't actually see the person, a lot of our communication is nonverbal. So when Marissa was complaining about, oh, he got too descriptive over there, she didn't step in and stop him and say, hey, I'm actually uncomfortable with you talking to me like this. From these messages, it looked like she was encouraging that. So there was no way for him to know that she was uncomfortable. Now it's different in a situation where you could see somebody's face, you could see their expression, you could see their body language. There's a big difference between, yeah, that seems great, versus, oh yeah, that sounds great, tell me more. You could say the exact same thing, but give completely different messages based off of nonverbal communication is what I'm trying to say.
And it went into this. I never send men photos for free because I have hundreds and thousands of myself on social media. So first sign of entitlement there.
She mentions the entitlement. I don't really understand in terms of entitlement, because that seems along the lines of how this sort of interaction would work.
And this is where it turned for the worst. In the middle of this conversation, he sent me an unsolicited, inappropriate photo without consent.
But the man really messed up when he sent a dick pic and he violated Marissa's boundaries. And I do think that even if you are talking with somebody with the intention of trying to hook up with them, don't send a dick pic out of the blue. However, was that dick pic completely out of the blue? Because up here we see that Marissa asked him for a picture. I'd imagine what she really meant was a picture of his face. What do you think? Do you think that that could have been a reasonable misinterpretation? After she made it very clear that she did not want that, she said, why would I sleep with somebody who doesn't know what consent is? Which, again, I feel like that's a little harsh. It could have possibly been a misunderstanding. He does apologize to his credit, so he doesn't continue sending them unsolicited and unwanted. So I leave the question to you. What do you think of this situation? And when it comes to boundaries, did Marissa violate this young man's boundaries by sharing all of this on her TikTok?
It's the strong, independent woman that I am, who knows my worth, knows how I should and deserve to be treated, and how I don't take shit from anyone. He asked me to hang out. That means that he needs to initiate the day of type of thing, you know? And he didn't. It was like 2:30 and he still did not say anything about hanging out that evening.
Now, another time when Marissa tried to date online, they had said that they were going to meet and they don't make any definitive plans, but she doesn't initiate that they make definitive plans. And then after the fact, she texted him and said, make plans with me in this specific way. And since you didn't do that within this specific time frame, I'm no longer available. I'm not angry. I'm just stating my boundaries. And then he didn't respond. And then she sent him progressively more angry messages simply because she was ghosted.
So when he asked me, what's up? I said, oh, I'm sanding some jewelry and watching TV. He's like, oh, cool. He's like, how about you? He's like, not much. I'm like, okay, cool. So then it's like 7, 8-ish. And I send him this lovely message of me setting my boundaries, not being rude at all, but letting him know that the way he was treating the whole situation I did not approve of. So I said, I thought we were hanging out today, LOL. So he didn't answer that, so I said this. I'm not one to wait around all day for a guy, so I'm no longer available to hang out tonight as you never clarified or confirmed anything yet. And now here's where I state my boundary. If there's a next time, I'm going to need things to be a little bit more concrete. Example, a guaranteed time, not just a general time frame, because my time is valuable and I don't appreciate it being wasted. Because essentially, you did waste my time. I'm not mad, just stating my boundaries, so if you can respect them, then cool, and if not, then oh well for you. So I sent that last night. I wake up, he read it, but didn't say anything. So I type, nothing? Not even 2 minutes later, he deletes me. Aww. Poor little boy child who doesn't know how to handle an independent woman who knows her worth. And because I'm a petty motherfucker, I messaged this on Bumble. I don't get it. You wanted to hang out with me. We chatted well and we had plans. We didn't end up hanging out because you didn't initiate the plans that we had had. So I set a boundary because I know my worth, and then you blocked me? Make it make sense. Make it make sense, buddy. But seriously, make it make sense. And he has since unmatched me. Ladies, know your worth. Stand up for yourself. It's okay.
I think that this video was called something like dating while fat. She assigned the problem in this situation to the fact that she is overweight, when this had nothing to do with him rejecting her because she was overweight or mistreating her because she was overweight. It's common to get ghosted online in online dating, unfortunately, and especially if you give somebody very aggressive messages. Yeah, that's more likely to happen. I can understand her being ghosted in this situation. After he blocked her, she went, I believe, from Snapchat back to Bumble and continued messaging him there. I'm like, you're so gung-ho about boundaries, and yet you're not respecting his boundaries by just staying put, realizing that you're not compatible, and just moving on. So another issue of blurred lines with boundaries on the internet. A couple of weeks ago, GlitterandLazers posted a Q&A video.
I'm gonna go with the spicy ones because nobody wants to watch a boring Q&A. We want to hear all the tea, all the drama. Why not? Why not? And also, I don't care anymore. I'm no longer ashamed of my opinions. And guess what? That's what therapy will do for you.
She asked her followers to send in the questions. She purposefully filtered out the questions that were too safe so that you could get the really juicy, meaty questions.
I gotta talk about this one because I feel it's a little effed up.
Somebody asked her about her dead mother.
This is one of those things that I find very fascinating about my job, is how comfortable people feel asking things that really just are totally not okay. I just don't think you would go up to a stranger or someone that you've never had coffee with and ask them about the death of, the tragic death of their mother in their childhood. Like, it's just not appropriate.
Now, I agree that if I met somebody randomly on the street, I wouldn't say, can you tell me more about your dead mother? I would really be interested in you telling me about all of that. But again, she's a social media influencer, posts her videos online. You see a lot more of her than you would see of random person on the street. Like, you see her talking about things like vibrators and her dating history, etc. So it's not really clear ahead of time what the boundaries are. Now, it is a-okay to state a boundary, to say, yes, I know that I asked you to ask me questions, and that is fine that you asked me this question. I realize that some of you guys might be curious about that. I'm not comfortable talking about that, and I hope that you respect that. I think that that would have been a better response, but then there was this whole rant about parasocial relationships, and in a different context, you wouldn't bring this up to somebody else. Yes, but you asked people to ask you questions.
And I don't mean to be mean. I understand it's weird for you because you feel very close to me, and I appreciate all the love and support you guys give me, but I'm not talking about it for a reason. And some of that has to do with my own emotional issues, and some of that has to do with respecting my family. And I just appreciate if you guys realize that I'm pretty open, right? About a lot of things. If I'm not talking about it, there's a reason. And bringing it up and asking to know it's not okay. And I don't want to be angry at you because I don't think you approached this viciously or meant to do me any harm, but now I'm going to be affected by it in ways that you may never understand. So if I'm not talking about it, there's a reason why.
I've never had a Q&A on my channel. One, I'm not saying this to shade you guys, but I would prefer it if you guys were a little bit more responsive. I would think that if I asked you guys for a Q&A, I'd get a bunch of tumbleweed and not enough people would ask me questions to warrant a whole video on it. And yeah, there are some questions that I do not want to answer, and I imagine that those would be the questions that you would ask first. How am I to expect you to understand which bits and pieces I want to share and which ones I want to keep private if I haven't explicitly said that. Because it's not like it's intuitive. And I feel like that's an issue with boundaries on the internet, where people just expect that social interaction comes naturally to everybody and that it should be intuitive to everybody. That's not the case. But it's especially not the case with the internet, where different people have different boundaries. I would not want to talk about my dating history. I would not want to talk about my sexual history. I would not want to talk about vibrators or toys or anything in relation to me on the internet. But I have mentioned to you guys that my dad died, and if you have questions about that, I wouldn't be offended if you asked me. Different people have different boundaries, and you can't fault somebody for not knowing what your boundaries are and aren't if you haven't directly stated them. I'm picking at my nail polish. I painted them today, and I do know that I didn't really color within the lines, okay? I did not feel like doing my hair today, so I didn't. Fun fact about me, if you were to see me in the wild, out and about outside, I would most likely have my hood up. You wouldn't know that from watching my other videos, would you? How do I wrap this up? So, boundaries are good. If somebody crosses a line, an invisible line that they didn't know was there, I do think it just makes sense to first state, hey, you may not know this, now you know. This is a boundary that I do not want you to cross. What do you think about this? You think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Tell me in the comments down below. Now, in editing this video, this was the first time I saw the Anna clips and the Marissa clips side by side, and I feel like I have to make a disclaimer. I sympathize with Anna. She is in pain because of her mother's death, and she didn't expect to get that question, and I understand that it upset her greatly. So I just want to put that out there because I feel like this is a completely different situation from Marissa, who I think she set up these young men. She talks about boundaries, but then she freely shares their pictures and their private messages, and it looks like she talks about boundaries just to be on this high horse. It doesn't seem like she actually cares, whereas I believe that Anna was actually hurt by this, and I do feel bad for her. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, if you do not mind discussing this, when it came to Marissa's chats on Bumble, please tell me what is and what is not normal and what you would or would not find acceptable in that sort of interaction, because like I am completely clueless. But if you do have experience in that situation and you want to keep it private, I understand that too. Thank you for watching this video of mine. I'll see you next time.